Panasonic hailed the Lumix G9 II as its first photocentric Micro Four Thirds camera with phase detect autofocus. The latter is certainly true, as the new hybrid AF system has only appeared on the full-frame S5 II and the S5 IIX models so far. But I, and others, noticed that it looked like the camera's most capable content creator camera too. After all, it offers up to 5.8K 60p video, 4K at 120p, incredible stabilization, SSD ProRes capture, and autofocus that's superior to the GH6. At the same time, you can shoot raw 25.2 megapixel photos at up to 60 frames per second with continuous AF, so this should be an incredible wildlife camera as well. So is it a vlogger's or an action shooter's dream, or both? I've got a retail camera with the final production firmware and raw support, so let's dive in and find out. Physically, the G9 II is more like the full-frame S5 II than the 6-year-old G9. Gone is the softer, rounded G9 design. In its place, a more angular body. It doesn't look as nice, but I like the practicality of it. The ridged grip is secure, and the generous controls make it easy to change settings. And if you're used to Panasonic models like the GH5, everything is where you expect it to be. The menus are easy to use as well, but I wish it had a dedicated photo-video switch with completely separate controls. The 1.8 million dot LCD display fully articulates for vloggers and self-shooters, of course, and it comes with a decent 3.68 million dot OLED viewfinder. The latter is on par with other cameras in this price range, like Fujifilm's X-T5. The G9 II uses the same battery as the S5 II, allowing for a middling 390 shots on a charge. Video endurance is better than the GH6 though, nearly 100 minutes at 4K 60p. A feature I didn't expect is SSD recording. That lets you capture high bandwidth ProRes files to an external drive via the USB-C port. It does require some rigging, but is an amazing time saver, as you can edit the files directly with no transcoding needed. It also has a pair of SD UHS-2 card slots, but no support for CF Express like the GH6. There's a nice full-sized HDMI port, but the G9 II doesn't yet support raw video recording. You also get microphone and headphone ports, along with USB-C that supports 10 gigabit per second transfer speeds and fast PD charging. With a fast sensor and new processor, the G9 II is a speed demon, but the first generation nature of Panasonic's phase detect autofocus does show at times. It can shoot RAW plus JPEG bursts with the mechanical shutter at up to 10 frames per second, or 60 frames per second in the SH60 electronic shutter mode with continuous autofocus. Panasonic also introduced a pre-burst mode, so you'll catch shots even if you're a bit slow. It has a large buffer that allows for over 3-second bursts at 60 frames per second and non-stop shooting with the mechanical shutter. However, it takes longer than other cameras to clear the buffer, due in part to the slowish SD ports. Those speeds are impressive if the autofocus can keep up. Luckily, it does that for the most part. Shooting at 60 frames per second with eye detection enabled, the large majority of shots were in focus with the subject running toward the camera. It wasn't quite as reliable for more distant subjects when using, say, a 200 to 800 millimeter equivalent telephoto, and didn't initially lock in quite as fast as I'd like. The eye detect autofocus, however, was reliable for both human and animal subjects. In other words, Panasonic is off to a good start, but has a way to go to catch up with Sony's ultra-reliable AF. I expect that to improve over time though via future firmware updates. If you're concerned about rolling shutter in electronic mode, don't be. Readout speeds are fast for a non-stacked sensor, so skew isn't an issue except in extreme situations like airplane propellers. Panasonic has included the same in-body stabilization system as the GH6, so it can reduce shake by up to 8 stops, letting you grab photos at a quarter second or less with no blur. The G9 II has the same 25.2 megapixel resolution dual gain sensor as the GH6, but image quality for photos is better with less noise at lower ISOs. With 5 extra megapixels over the G9, it takes sharper shots and provides some extra detail over rivals like the OM1, letting you crop in a bit more. JPEG colors straight out of the camera look great and require little retouching. The dual gain sensor also makes it good in low light for a micro four thirds camera. Very little noise is visible up to ISO 1600, and it's well managed beyond that up to about ISO 12800 as long as you expose correctly. RAW files are relatively easy to edit and give you room to dial down highlights or bring up detail in shadows. The small sensor puts it at a disadvantage to full-frame cameras, however. The G9 II now has a dynamic range boost function applied automatically. It uses both the high and low gain circuits and combines them into one photo HDR style. That helps boost dynamic range in bright sunlight and other tricky situations. The handheld high-resolution mode, meanwhile, combines multiple images into a single 100 megapixel shot with no tripod required. It works surprisingly well for shots like landscapes with limited movement. Finally, Panasonic took a page from Fujifilm with a new black and white color profile called Leica Monochrome. It was developed in partnership with Leica, obviously, and features brighter highlights and more contrast. Panasonic might not want to hear this, but if I was a content creator looking for a micro four thirds camera, I'd get this model over the more vlogging-focused GH6. Yes, the GH6 has a few advantages. It can capture ProRes video directly to CF Express cards, while you need to rig up an SSD to do the same on the G9 II. It also has a fan that allows unlimited video recording, so it is better for event videographers. Finally, you can output raw video to an external recorder, which you can't do on the G9 II yet. Aside from that, the G9 II holds its own. Both can capture 5.7K at up to 60 frames per second or 120p 4K, and the G9 II supports 10-bit vlog recording and 4K internal capture with high data rates, exactly like the GH6. And you can do high bandwidth ProRes recording via the USB-C port, again, just like the GH6. The lack of a fan does limit the G9 II's recording times, but not substantially. 4K and 5.7K recording times are effectively unlimited at 30 and 60 frames per second. Even 4K at 120 frames per second can go over 20 minutes, and few users will ever need that. And the G9 II does things the GH6 can't. The Phase Detect AF is clearly superior for video, eliminating wobble and letting you focus much quicker. It also has a lower ISO range for vlog recording compared to the GH6. That makes it more practical to shoot in sunlight, where the benefits of log and dual gain are greatest. As with the GH6, stabilization is excellent for video, though Sony's ZV-E1 is a touch better. Boost mode provides near tripod levels of smoothness, though it's for static shots only. Turning on E-stabilization reduces jolts to near gimbal levels of smoothness. That mode also corrects warping of the edges with wide-angle lenses, a first for mirrorless cameras. 4K video is oversampled and thus very sharp. Dynamic range is outstanding in vlog mode, so it's easy to adjust later, especially at the base ISO 500 level. Colors are natural and low light capability is solid for a small sensor camera, thanks to the dual gain system. So video quality wise, I have zero complaints. With all that, the $1,900 G9 II is one of the most capable hybrid cameras I've seen. The handling, speed, and improved autofocus make it a compelling option for wildlife photographers, but the excellent video capabilities and quality make it a great choice for content creators as well. Panasonic's main competition on the photography side is the $2,000 OM1. The G9 II has more resolution, but the OM1 has a faster stacked sensor. For photos, either is a good choice, depending on what you need. However, the G9 II is far superior for video. On the content creation side, Sony's $2,200 ZV-E1 is a clear rival and a touch better for vloggers. Panasonic's own $1,700 GH6 is another option. However, neither of those models can touch the G9 II on the photography side. If you're someone who tends to do both of those things, this camera is a great choice. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. And for more on technology, check out Engadget.com.